Namaste everyone and welcome to episode 3 of the ANA Publishing Monthly Research and Ethics series. I am Dr. Aamarpali Roy and it's a pleasure to continue this academic lecture series focused on research integrity, responsible publishing practices and ethical scholarship. Today's session is titled Predatory Journals versus Peer-Reviewed Journals. Understanding ISSN and academic credibility. In academic research, writing a good paper is only one part of the process. An equally important question is where should that research be published? Many researchers, especially early career scholars and doctoral students, often face confusion when selecting a journal. In today's session, we will address this challenge in a structured and practical way. In the previous episode, we discussed plagiarism and ethical writing practices. We emphasized the importance of proper citation, paraphrasing, and maintaining academic integrity while writing research. However, ethical responsibility in research does not end with writing. It also extends to where and how that research is published. Even high quality research can lose credibility if it is published in a journal that does not follow proper academic standards. For this reason, in today's discussion, we'll focus on understanding different types of journals and how researchers can make informed publication decisions. Learning objectives. Let us begin by outlining the objectives of today's session. By the end of this lecture, you will have a clear understanding of several important aspects of academic publishing. We will start by examining what predatory journals are and why they exist. Next, we will explore what defines a peer reviewed journal and how the review process strengthens the quality and credibility of research. We'll then discuss the role of ISSN, highlighting its importance as a globally recognized identifier that ensures the authenticity and traceability of serial publications. Further, we will compare predatory and legitimate journals, identifying key differences and warning signs that every researcher should be aware of. Finally, we will conclude with a practical checklist that researcher can use to make informed decisions before submitting their work. Why journal selection matters? Publishing a research paper is not only about achieving acceptance, it has long-term implication for a researcher's academic credibility, career progression, and visibility within scholarly community. The journal in which a paper is published becomes part of a researcher's academic record. If the journal follows proper standards, the research gains recognition and trust. However, if the journal lacks credibility, it may negatively affect how the research is perceived. Therefore, selecting the right journal is important academic decision, not just a procedural step. What are predatory journals? Predatory journals are platforms that fail to follow established academic and ethical standards. Rather than upholding research integrity, they prioritize financial gain over scholarly quality. Although many claim to offer peer review, in reality, the process is often absent. Now, we must know about fraudulent actors. Fraudulent actors are individuals or organizations that exploit the academic publish or perish culture for financial gain through predatory publishing. In addition, fraudulent actors frequently create fake social media profiles and hijack identities to imitate legitimate journals or researchers. These accounts may operate for years, carefully building credibility by sharing genuine academic content. However, they often function as sleeper accounts designed to gain trust before suddenly disappearing after extracting payments or being exposed. Because such platforms lack reliable digital archiving, any research published through them may vanish entirely once the journal or account disappears. This leaves authors without a verifiable publication record and can seriously harm their academic reputation. Predatory journals also rely heavily on unsolicited emails, often using exaggerated praise or deceptive phishing techniques to invite submission or editorial board memberships. They frequently promise unusual rapid publication timelines. While this may seem appealing, especially to researchers under pressure, it raises serious concerns about the credibility and rigor of the publication process. For these reasons, it is essential to recognize and avoid predatory journals. Why predatory journals exist? Predatory journals exist for several reasons. One major factor is increasing pressure on researchers to publish regularly, often referred to as publish or perish culture. This pressure can make quick publication options appear attractive. In addition, many researchers, especially those at early stages of their careers, may not be fully aware of how to evaluate journal credibility. Predatory journals take advantage of this gap by presenting themselves as legitimate academic platforms. Therefore, awareness and careful evaluation are essential for making informed publishing decisions. What is peer review? A key feature of credible academic journal is the process of peer review. Peer review involves the evaluation of submitted research by experts in the same field. These reviewers assess the quality, originality, methodology, and relevance of the research. Based on their feedbacks, authors may be asked to revise and improve their work before publication. This process ensures that only research meeting certain academic standards is published. Therefore, peer review plays an important role in maintaining the credibility and reliability of scholarly communication. What is refereed journal? A refereed journal is one that uses independent experts, often called referees, to evaluate submitted manuscripts. These reviewers provide an unbiased assessment of the research. Refereed journals follow structural editorial processes, including submission screening, peer review, revision, and final decision making. This structured system ensures that research is evaluated fairly and consistently. As a result, refereed journals are generally considered more reliable and credible within academic community. Understanding ISSN. ISSN or International Standard Serial Number is a unique identifier assigned to journals. It plays an important role in recognition and cataloging of academic publications. ISSN helps distinguish one journal from another and contributes to the formal identity of a journal within academic ecosystem. However, while ISSN is an essential component, it should always be considered along with important factors such as peer review, editorial processes, and transparency. A well evaluated journal combines identification, structure, and academic quality. Real publishing structure. To better understand how legitimate publishing operates, it is useful to look at structured academic publishing environments. At Anna Publishing Private Limited, we have been engaged in academic publishing for over a decade, working with journals across multiple disciplines. Such publishing systems typically include clearly defined journal scope, publication frequency, ISSN, and proper communication channels. These elements reflect a systematic and transparent approach to academic publishing. Example journal profiles. To make this discussion more practical, let us consider how journal information is typically presented in a structured academic environment. A credible journal generally provides clearly defined details such as title, discipline, publication frequency, ISSN, and official communication channels. For examples, journals may be categorized as multidisciplinary or domain specific depending on their scope. They may follow a quarterly or biannual publication schedule which reflects planning and consistency. Providing official email addresses and websites also indicates transparency and accessibility for authors. These elements, when presented clearly, help researchers understand the scope and functioning of a journal before submission. Author support system. A key characteristic of legitimate journal is the presence of structured author support system. Before submitting a manuscript, researchers should be able to access clear author guidelines which outline formatting, reference styling, and submission requirements. In addition, journals often require declaration forms ensuring that the ethical standards such as originality and authorship are maintained. A transparent peer review workflow and accessible communication channels further support authors during the publication process. These elements indicate that the journal follows a systematic and responsible approach to academic publishing. In contrast, the absence of such structures may signal the need for caution. Predatory versus legitimate journals. Not all journals are created equal. Predatory journals operate with little to no genuine peer review and are primarily driven by profit. They often accept papers quickly with minimal scrutiny. A major warning sign is their use of fraudulent practices. These may include fake or hijacked identities, cloned journal websites, and deceptive social media profiles designed to imitate legitimate publishers or well known researchers. In many cases, they use phishing tactics, sending emails that appear official, using logos, names, and language that mimic trusted journals to mislead researchers into submitting their work and paying fees. These messages are often overly flattering or urgent, pressuring authors to act quickly without proper verification. In contrast, legitimate journals maintain transparent processes, their communication is professional and limited, and they never rely on deceptive tactics to attract submission. Choosing the right journal is not just about speed, it is about safeguarding your research, your reputation, and your academic integrity. Red flags of predatory journals. Let us now look at some common warning signs that may indicate a predatory journal. Researchers should be cautious if they receive unsolicited email invitations that strongly encourage immediate submission. Unrealistically fast publication timelines are another major red flag. Additionally, poor website quality, unclear publishing information, and lack of defined policies should raise concerns. In some cases, journals may claim indexing or credibility without verifiable evidence. Recognizing these warning signs is an important step in avoiding unreliable publication platforms. Evaluating journal credibility. When selecting a journal, it is important not to rely on a single factor. Journal credibility should be evaluated based on multiple aspects. These include the presence of genuine peer review process, clarity of editorial policies, transparency in communication, and overall publisher reputation. It is also important to understand that indexing alone does not define quality. Researchers should adopt a holistic approach carefully examining the journal before making a submission decision. Journal selection checklist. To support practical decision making, let us consider a simple checklist that researchers can use before submitting their work. First, verify whether the journal clearly defines its peer review process. Second, check if author guidelines and submission procedures are available. Third, confirm whether the journal provides a valid and verifiable ISSN. Fourth, review the policies and communication channels. Finally, observe the overall professionalism of the journal's presentation. Using such a checklist can help researchers avoid common mistakes and select appropriate publication platforms. Understanding visibility. Another important aspect to consider is the visibility of published research. In many cases, credible academic work becomes accessible through platforms such as Google Scholar and ResearchGate, as well as other academic search systems. This visibility often occurs as a result of proper publication practices and accessibility rather than artificial promotion. Researchers should therefore focus on publishing in journals that follow transparent and ethical standards. Decision flow. Before submitting a manuscript, it is useful to pause and ask a few important questions. Is this journal transparent in its policies and processes? Does it clearly describe its peer review system? Are the contact details and communication channels reliable? If there is any uncertainty, it is advisable not to rush for the submission. Taking time to evaluate the journal carefully can prevent long term academic complications. Key takeaways. Let us briefly summarize the key points from today's session. Not all journals operate with the same level of academic standards. ISSN play an important role in establishing the identity and recognition of a journal. At the same time, peer review and publishing processes are essential for ensuring research quality. Transparency and structured systems remain key indicators of journal reliability. Ultimately, selecting the right journal is an important responsibility for every researcher. IDC International Journal, as an example of a multidisciplinary academic journal, the IDC International Journal operates with a defined quarterly publication cycle. It provides a platform for research across multiple disciplines and follows structured publishing and communication processes. The presence of ISSN, defined scope, and regular frequency reflects an organized approach to academic publishing. The Genesis is another multidisciplinary journal that supports interdisciplinary research contributions. It follows a structured publication schedule and provides scholars with clear communication channels. Such frameworks are important in maintaining consistency and academic reliability. The Research Reservoir of Paramedical Sciences is the journal that focuses specifically on paramedical sciences, providing a specialized platform for domain specific research. Having a clearly defined subject focus is another important feature of structured academic publishing. It allows researchers to target the appropriate audience for their work. The business age focuses on research in business, commerce, and management disciplines. Like other structured journals, it maintains defined publication frequency, ISSN identification, and communication systems. Such elements contribute to a consistent and transparent academic publishing environment. Before we conclude today's session, let me briefly introduce the topic of our next episode in this series. In episode 4, we will focus on a highly practical and essential topic: how to write a research paper for journal publication. This session will provide a structured, step by step academic guide to help researchers develop and present their work effectively. We will begin by understanding the overall structure of a research paper, including how to write each section with clarity and purpose. We'll also discuss common writing mistakes that researchers often make and how these can be avoided. In addition, we'll focus on improving academic writing quality, ensuring that ideas are communicated clearly and professionally. Finally, we'll look at how to prepare a complete manuscript for journal submission. I hope you will find the next session useful as you continue your research journey. Thank you for joining today's session of Anna Publishing Research and Ethics series, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.